fashion, style, are all important aspects of the self. Like language, it communicates to the wearer and observer a person's economic status, ethnicity, age, gender, and other social markers that make us distinct from one another. American Indians have long used clothing as a form of artistic expression and tribal affiliation. Their traditional clothing carries a spirituality that connects them with the earth and spirit worlds. In Western culture, the spirituality, tribal affiliation, uniqueness, and artistic expression is stripped into a commodified and romanticized version of the stereotypical Indian. Native American-inspired fashion becomes commercialized and no longer represents the distinct nature of over 500 American Indian tribes. This constant and degrading use of Native American-inspired clothing and costumes throughout the media, film, and fashion world only perpetuates the stereotypical nature of Native Americans as a vanishing, historic, and primitive people, and fails to recognize the contemporary nature of Native Americans today. Yet, a new dawn has ushered in a wave of Native American artists and fashion designers who are challenging the image of the stereotypical Indian and revitalizing Native American clothing and fashion for today's world. The traditional dress of the Aboriginal people of America were exceedingly varied. It encompassed the flora and fauna of the entire continent. Some of the elements of dress were based on tribal uses or styles and designs that had been handed down from generation to generation and intricately weaved in traditional stories of a tribe. Other elements were chosen by the individual either as a simple matter of choice or as determined through visions or dreams. These highly diversified elements came together to create a uniquely complex and extraordinarily beautiful outfit. The local and regional environment largely determined not only the clothes, but also the requirements of the protection the clothes had to meet. There were other functions of clothing, and a highly significant one was to establish tribal identity. This was shown by a certain cut of a garment, characteristic headwear, moccasins, accessory, beadwork, quill work, or other clothing embellishments. Within the group, the individual can indicate by clothing and accessories such things as membership in a certain society, military exploits, and the social economic status. The spirituality of garments was assumed by their basis in dreams or visions, so that a specific cut or form of decoration might have had a special or secret meaning to the wearer.
Each dress has a different meaning. For Holly Tijerina, carrying this symbol is a responsibility she doesn't take lightly.
This particular dress that I'm wearing came to be through a vision that my uncle had. He envisioned a dress that would be specific to Aboriginal people living with AIDS and HIV. Each of the cones that are on my dress have been put together with the help of somebody working in the field or living with that particular illness.
When considering these clothing styles, it is important to understand that Native American clothing designs was not a static art. Before the days of colonization, there was a transfusion of ideas and materials through expansive trade networks from coast to coast. Ideas and sewing techniques were also passed amongst people and evolved and adapted to tribal cultural styles and fashion. With the coming of Europeans, the native people adapted new ideas of ornamentation and add European garments to their own tribal clothing. New materials appeared, such as tin, silver, and steel needles, which quickly began to replace the bone owls that Native Americans used to sew their clothing. Cloth made an important impact, replacing deerskin glass beads, and ribbons were used to create ornamentation and uniquely Indian designs. Even the shapes of garments changed due to the influence of European fashions. As the encroachment of Western laws, religion, and culture began to erode Native American sovereignty, so did the fashions of the Western world start to replace the traditional apparel of the American Indian. As a form of assimilation, American Indian children were stripped of their native clothing in BIA boarding schools, only to be replaced with stiff school uniforms that stifled their creative spirit. Their hair, an accessory to their tribal identity, was cut short and replaced with shorter Western hairstyles. In order to make a living in American society, older American Indian men and women had to adapt to the Western mode of dress in order to gain employment in the American workforce. The traditional outfits, once worn daily, was delegated to ceremonial or special occasions. Despite the setbacks, the American Indian traditional and artistic expressions were not to remain in the closet for long. With the emergence of the Red Power movement and the passing of Indian Self-Determination Act of 1975, American Indians were once again revitalizing their language, culture, and tribal sovereignty. This enabled young American Indians to once again seek pride in artistic exploration through their traditional clothing. The Institute of American Indian Arts incorporated clothing and textile courses into their curriculum since the school's inception in 1962. The Institute's design program, which may count among the most significant fashion curriculum in the U.S., has inspired many Native American fashion designers today.
Dorothy Grant is a traditional Haida artist and a celebrated fashion designer. Her garments, button blankets, and spruce root hats can be found in museums and private collections worldwide. Michael Glendale visits Dorothy at her design studio in Vancouver and discovers how she maintains her cultural roots in the fashion industry.
Hi, Dorothy.
Hi, Michael.
Hi.
Welcome to my studio.
Thank you. It's such an amazing space.
Thank you. Thank you. We designed it, this space, for just showing the work as in a boutique. And then behind the curtain, we've got where we cut and sew. This is what I started out doing as a traditional artist. In my 20s, I focused on the traditional side of Haida art, and particularly fabric art. So I started making button blankets years ago, and I still make a blanket every once in a while. This was done a couple of years ago in Santa Fe, and it's the shark blanket. But it's where I started, and my inspiration for fashion came from, because I did these blankets for years and years, and I outfitted a traditional Haida dance group, and that's how it started. Fashion is a reflection of social culture. But for me, there's certain things that are classic in shape and in style, and what I think my customer likes, and what I like, basically. And I think designers are like that. They design what they like. But I like a classic silhouette, and I think that's what works well with my art, with Haida. I built something from an idea, and I've taken it this far. It's brought focus of our indigenous art onto a world stage, and it's created a sense of pride in our First Nations people and young people. And I think that's really important in terms of role modeling, that this is what you can do. You can take an idea and you can build that dream, and you can actually make it happen.
Teams from the Coche de Pueblo. We're here in Scottsdale to release our Indigene Resurrect, and the whole line, as you see, are all inspired by Coche de Pueblo pottery. All the designs are on here, Native American designs, and I would basically describe the whole thing as Native American fashion stuck on fast forward.
Virgil Ortiz, Patricia Michaels, Dorothy Grant, Tyson Palace, and others are a few of the designers that are pushing the envelope by redefining, preserving, and promoting Native culture and traditional styles. These artists draw inspiration from the wealth of traditional knowledge that is deeply embedded in the designs and styles of traditional American Indian clothing. The clothing of their ancestors conveys a story of the past, present, and future, and a story of a people and where they have been.
Each designer serves in their own capacity to enrich the lives of their own native communities as they preserve and promote their own cultures and traditions. This is their way of speaking out and spreading their idea of self-determination one piece of clothing at a time.